News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. Iran state media is reporting that Iran's president says he's ready to end the war with the U.S. and Israel, but wants security guarantees, reiterating Iran's demands for ending the war. They presented those demands, including reparations and recognizing Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, a week ago. It's not clear that they've changed. Iran's foreign minister told Al Jazeera that this is just an exchange of messages, either directly or through friends, and not negotiations. He says the exchanges are happening within a defined framework across government and under supervision of Iran's National Security Council, but that Iran has not sent a response to the U.S. proposal and has not made any decisions, but that Iran's conditions are clear. Hopes that the war with Iran could be ending soon sent oil lower and the S&P higher. We bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. WTI down 1.25% near $101 per barrel. Brent crude down nearly 3.5% near $103 per barrel. S&P gained nearly 3%. That's 185 points. NASDAQ is more than 3.8% higher, or 796 points. The Dow gained 1,125 points. That's about 2.5% higher. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.31%. The 2-year yield at 3.78%. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index down about 0.5%, and Bitcoin is up about 2%, nearing $68,000. Now, President Trump called on other nations to wrest control of the Strait of Hormuz as Iran maintained missile fire across the Persian Gulf. Trump says countries that cannot get energy supplies should, quote, go to the strait and just take it, and that the U.S., quote, won't be there to help you anymore. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth echoed Trump's criticism of NATO and other allies for not pitching in on the military operations.
These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing and overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations.
Hegseth stated that U.S. strikes are damaging the morale of the Iranian military, leading to widespread desertions, and that regime change has occurred in Iran. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer says the bottleneck in the Strait of Hormuz is likely to impact other countries before the U.S.
The United States is generally insulated from a lot of the supply chain effects when it comes to direct commodities and things like that. For a lot of that, we have domestic sourcing. We have sourcing from our partners to the north and south of us and other places.
Trade Representative Jamieson Greer spoke exclusively on Bloomberg Surveillance. OpenAI is now valued at $852 billion after closing a deal to raise $122 billion from investors, marking that company's largest funding round to date and bolstering its costly push for more chips, data centers, and talent. The bulk of the financing came from three big tech companies, Amazon, NVIDIA, and SoftBank Group. Nike reported better than expected sales, showing that CEO Elliott Hill's sharpened focus on sports is helping Nike rebound. Sales were $11.3 billion in the company's fiscal third quarter, surpassing the average of estimates compiled by Bloomberg. Earnings per share also surpassed expectations, while performance in China showed signs of improvement. Nike shares are about 3% lower in the post-market. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to suspend its construction of a $400 million ballroom where it demolished the east wing of the White House. The judge granted a preservationist group's request for a preliminary injunction temporarily halting Trump's White House ballroom project. The judge wrote that the president is a steward of the White House, not its owner. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued for an order to pause the ballroom project until it goes through multiple independent reviews and wins approval from Congress. A federal judge has agreed to permanently block the Trump administration from implementing a presidential directive that would end federal funding for NPR and PBS, calling the order unlawful and unenforceable. The judge says the First Amendment right to free speech does not tolerate viewpoint discrimination and retaliation. Last year, Trump said at a news conference he would love to defund NPR and PBS because he believes they're biased in favor of Democrats. NPR claims the Republican president wants to punish it for the content of its journalism. Job openings fell, hiring slowed notably in February, pointing to cooler labor demand before the war in Iran Iran triggered additional uncertainty. The Labor Department says vacancies decreased to 6.88 million from an upwardly revised 7.24 million in January. After a pickup in openings at the start of the year, the slowdowns in hiring and vacancies indicate employers are proceeding cautiously after a year of near zero job growth. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morrison. This is Bloomberg.